Welcome again to Jewelry Making Made Easy by Ellen. Today we will be making at least one type of memory wire earring. There are so many projects that I want to show you, but it seems that the memory wire is the most popular, and rather than another bracelet, I thought I would show you how to make a couple of pairs of earrings. You can do all kinds of things with this memory wire. Here is another one. If we have time, I'll try to show the second one. Otherwise, I'll just make a separate video. Today we'll be working first with this one with 2-inch memory wire. My tools are a round nose plier. I have 2 flat nose pliers, a side cutter, and a memory wire cutter. Now remember, when you're working with memory wire, you have to have a very strong cutter. If you don't have a memory wire cutter, maybe out in the shed or garage, your husband or boyfriend or father has a really strong cutter, because you don't want something like this will just break if you're trying to cut memory wire with it. So, and we're working with chain. I have 3 exact same size lengths of chain, and if you're going to be working with the kit, then I can tell you they're 25 loops long. If you are using your own beads and your own chain, then I will show you, we'll start with showing you how to cut the lengths of chain. So the memory wire, I have I'll take one full exact loop. So here's the beginning. I hold it up next to the second loop, and I'll put my memory wire cutter right flush up against the very first end. Hopefully I'll do that. And I have one full loop. I'm only going to make one earring because I already have one, and I'm hoping to have time to do a different earring. So, like I said, if you're using any other chain than what's in the kit, this is what you will have to do to start. You'll start by beading on 3 5mm round, whether it be silver rounds or pearls or crystals or stone, whatever you're going to use, and a 2x38mm tube bead in the center, 3 on each side. So this is just to measure your chain. I'm putting 3 on one side, the tube bead, and then 3 more. And then I'm just going to take it off again. This is just to get the measurement for the chain. The reason I don't leave it on is because once you get all the beads on and all the chain on, they usually start falling off the end, one end or the other, and that's just a pain in the neck. So here we have 3 5mm beads, a tube bead, and the 3 5mm on the other side. You take your length of chain. I try to leave it on the spool because I hate waste, and you will feed the loop, the end loop of the chain, onto one side. Oh, the eyes are really great. Okay, let's try this side. One side of your work, and hold it up next to the bead on the other side so that it's right next to the bead, and you can see it's hanging exactly where you want it, which is probably going to be just above, but not touching, that tube bead. And slide it off, slide them all off, and then you will cut, right, I put my fingernail there to show where I want to cut it. Cut your links off. Then you will pick up that link. I use a head pin. You're going to need a total of 6 lengths of chain, all exactly the same size. So I put the first one that I cut on a head pin, to make it easier to cut the rest. Pick up my length of chain again so that I can measure exactly where I'm going to cut the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. I can see right there, they're meeting. So I take my nail, and this is the one that I'm going to want to cut. Keep my nail on it, and I'll just cut that off, and you do that 5 more times so that you have 6 lengths. But since I already have my 3 lengths, and I'm trying to shorten the video, we'll just start from here. Okay, now when you're making your memory wire bracelets, if you watched mine or anybody else's video, they probably showed you to loop it on the top this way. Well, it's different with the earring. What we're going to do is we're going to put our round nose plier right at the end, holding it straight up and down, and you're going to bend it away from you because you want your loop to be going towards the back, and you want it to kind of sit straight out this way. So that's not closed exactly, so I'm going to try to close that up a little bit better. But you can see it's not looped up this way, it's going straight out. So let me close that loop up a little bit better. You only do that on one side because we're going to be feeding everything on the other side. So what we do is we're starting from the top end here, and we're going to feed on 1 bead, 1 length of chain, 1 bead. And like I said, these are 5mm rounds. Another length of chain, another 5mm round, another length of chain. They're all hanging. Then I'm going to put on 3 more as on this earring. I've got the 3 lengths of chain, and then 1, 2, 3 more rounds. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to put my tube bead on. It's a 2 by 38mm tube bead, and I do sell these in my Etsy shop along with the other beads, and I'll be putting some of that chain on there too, and the kits. And then back on the other side, we're repeating 3 beads. 1, 2, 3, and you can see why I put the loop on the other end so it doesn't fall off. 3 beads. I'm going to pick up the inside piece of chain and loop that on this side. Pick up another 5mm round. Pick up the second inside piece of chain and loop that on this side. Another 5mm round. Then the third top piece of chain, and 1 more 5mm round, which got away from me. Slide them kind of down to the middle. And when you're wearing them, they'll just stay right there. The weight of it kind of keeps it in the middle. Now we're going to take the our pliers. I have to turn it around whichever way is comfortable for you. And this time I'm going to be, that's a flat nose, turning this wire in towards me so that it matches the other one. So I grab it on the end and turn it around. Make sure I get it closed. And it should be sitting just like the other one. Is that closed? Yeah. Okay, we're almost there. Now this is a 18 gauge. What I have is 18 gauge 6.5 millimeter jump rings. I'm going to open up my jump ring and take my ear wire. And the reason that I have a thinner one is because this is a tricky part when you're putting it together, because the memory wire seems to want to get away from, well, at least it wants to get away from me. Open up my jump ring nice and wide. Go in one side, feed it through the top. Come around and go through the bottom of the other loop. Now I'm going to hang my, now I have the loops facing away from me at this point, and I'm going to put the ear wire on so that's also facing away from me. Now the easiest thing to do at this point is if you can get a grip with your fingers on that jump ring on the opposite side of the plier, is to start to close it so it doesn't get away from you, because the memory wire does want to stretch. And that, yeah, see, that's wanting to come off there. Then I grab my other thin flat nose plier. Like I said, this is a little tricky here. And I close up my jump ring. So we are almost there. And then we just make our little flower, or not. I made a pair without the flower. I think they're very cute. And hang the flower from there. So what we have here for the flower is a seed bead, a 4 millimeter bicone, a little, I think this is a, I forgot what the size of this little daisy is. I think it's a 4 by 8 or 9, a bead cap, and a 4 millimeter pearl. So I start by putting my seed bead. Of course, it's not going to go on there. That's going to be one of the seed beads that are very uncooperative. Yep. It doesn't want to go on there. Let me grab a couple over here. Every once in a while, I will find a seed bead that does not want to, doesn't have a big enough hole. Seed bead, 4 millimeter bicone, my daisy, my bead cap, and my pearl. Now these glass pearls seem to have, on all of them, a bigger hole on one side than on the other. So if your head pin is not going through, try turning it around. The other side is probably bigger. Then we're going to take our round nose plier. Here's our little daisy. Just above the top of the pearl, bend it at a 90-degree angle, and I use my finger as a gauge and cut the excess wire right on the other side of my finger. And I am going to measure that so I can tell you, because otherwise I wouldn't know. I just know it's how wide my finger is. That is about, it's not a half of an inch, 5/8 of an inch, just less than a half of an inch. And while it's still sitting straight across, this is how I make a loop. There's tons of ways to make a loop, but this is the way I'm most comfortable with it. And instead of closing the loop all the way, I leave it open and I hook it onto my earring onto the jump ring, facing in the same direction that the other loops are facing. Just kind of hang it there. Grab it on the other side with my round nose plier and close up that loop, and we're done. All loops facing in. Now you can put almost anything on memory wire and make an earring. Like I said, this is a 2-inch diameter memory wire. And the other earring, let's see at what point we're at here. We're already at 15 minutes, so I'm going to do a second video for the other earring. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're interested, like I said, I do have kits and supplies available at my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/oldsmarbeads. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in the other earring, I'll be making one right after I play with my little doggie, who is starting to get a little antsy because it's her playtime. 2:30 is playtime. Have a good day, and like I said, hope you enjoyed.